Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? It is Ricky Ventures and Marlon Madden, and we are back with you for another episode of the Success Journey Show. What's going on, Marlon? How you doing today, bro?
Oh man, I'm hyped.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Man, I am like a scattered. I feel like I'm all over the place right now, man. It's trying to excitement, at the same time, managing a whole bunch of different things, whole bunch of things in the air. So it's a good feeling, but at the same time, it's one of those where I need a beat just to process everything, man. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, totally understand it.
Yeah.
Same thing. I have a lot of stuff going. The Marine Corps side plus personal side plus different business ventures and for me, New Year. It's funny. I talked to a client I sold 2 houses to, and he's like, "Oh, you have another one?" I was like, "Yeah, I have another one in Detroit." He's like, "Oh, you want to sell me that one?" I was like, "I'll think about it because I have a duplex in Detroit also." So I'm like,
yeah.
I want to think about it. Then he's like, "Oh, I want to pick your brain about some real estate stuff." And I was like, "Okay." So I talked to him tonight, but then just different stuff. At the top of the year, I'm used to having at least one deal, purchasing one deal already and going to the fixing phase to sell it soon. So just looking forward to that. We have to definitely go look at the property to lock that in to see the finishing touches of that. So we can, there's some things we got to wrap it on. So there's a lot of stuff on the plate and we just have to, like you say, scattered all over, but at the same time, it's organized chaos. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It's fun, man. I'm not complaining about it. I know it's just part of the process, and it's an exciting part. But it's one of those parts where it's like it's critical because it's for me when I get to this point, I like to have things strategically, lined up and planned out here. Okay, well, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing here. This is what I'm doing there. This is what I'm doing here. So when everything comes in at once, my brain has to now take it and section it off. All right, this goes here, this goes there, this goes to this thing, that goes to this thing. It's the follow up for that. It's the follow up for this. And I love it. But until all those things get into their different places, it's all jumbled up in one. So it's nah. But it's funny because some people they retreat in times like this, and they feel overwhelmed and they go to sleep. I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm done. But one thing I learned years ago is you just do a couple things. Just do a couple things here, do one thing there, boom, and just keep lining it up because you'll get out of that fog. You get out of that that space of unknown, and clarity will come. But you just got to keep moving forward. So, yeah. We are. I don't know when you guys will hear this one, but we were just in Chicago when you saw that episode where we interviewed Tom Miller. We were in Chicago the weekend, and it was cold. So we're glad to be back in beach weather, 40-degree weather.
That's how I felt today when I was going out.
It felt like it. So we're glad to be back in that. And I do not plan on ever going back to that area during the winter time if I have.
Oh yes. Stay away.
Not happening. So, but yeah, man, we're gonna jump right into it to our next segment, and we will bring our guests in. But before we do, just always remember you can go to our website, the Success Journey Show, and there you can see all of our previous guests and shows, and also you can see our shirts, books, things of that nature. Go ahead, check them out. Dream, drive, discipline, diligence. People love the shirts when they see them. And hey, it's a message, man. It's a lifestyle that we're pushing. So yeah, we will be here, and we're looking forward to just sharing this next segment with you guys as we bring on our guests. right, everyone. Like I promised, the best part of this show when we bring on a guest to share the behind the scenes journey to their road to success. And is none other today. We have none other than Martin Saenz. And Martin, we just want to thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Good, Ricky. Thank you for having me on, and look forward to spending some time with you and Marlon.
Man, it's an honor to have you with us. Honor to have you with us. So why don't you start off by just sharing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Martin Saenz, and I live in Sarasota, Florida, with my wife and 4 children. And I am age-wise, I'm 48, and I've been financially free for a while. So that means I work because I want to work, and so I've been blessed in that regard. And but this show's about the journey, so we can get right into it, and I can kind of share that journey.
Oh, I love it.
Ricky, you said Sarasota. You know, I used to be down in Florida, right in that area. I used to go to Sarasota all the time. I have a house up in Hudson, Florida.
Okay.
Right up the way, right top side, north of north of Tampa. So
okay.
Yeah, I used to go down to Sarasota. Sarasota is pretty nice. Sarasota is pretty nice.
Yeah, we enjoy good quality of life down here.
Okay, definitely. Hey, I know we said we're going to talk about only journey too, but after we get into that journey, we definitely want to leave our travelers. We call them travelers because we believe everybody's going on our journey with us, or we're going on a journey with them. So we definitely want to leave them some tidbits about the information, because I know you got some very pertinent information about financing and also mortgages and all these different things. And we can talk to them and teach them about that financial freedom and how to obtain that. But we want to know the man behind the myth, the legend, and everything else. Yeah. So we definitely want to get into your story, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did the corporate job gig for a few years out of after getting an MBA in the early 2000s, and my wife and I, we just realized it wasn't for us. And I think that a lot of people kind of have felt that along the way, where you get locked into a company, you're probably making that company a lot of money, and putting in a lot of effort to kind of grow that company, but you're not feeling the value, you're not feeling this reciprocal. And so there's a level of frustration. And so as a result, my wife and I just decided we needed to do have a business for ourselves. And so I quit corporate America, and my wife and I launched a federal contracting company in 2005, selling goods and services to the federal government. And it really took about a year before we determined what it is we wanted to do. And it was a lot of soul searching. But of course, you're developing mindset. So you're doing a lot of self-education. You need a lot of motivation. So there's a lot of Tony Robbins and, all those good guys. But, I like Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Les Brown. These guys are all like near and dear to me. And I still listen to them and get teary-eyed. And and then also too, just kind of forming disciplines. And I think that was kind of the start of what my wife and I did to kind of get out of the gate.
Love it, man. When you say that, man, I'm getting chills. I started getting chills when you said financially free and working just because you want to. That's when I started getting chills. And then as you started sharing your story of, hey, you tried the corporate route and you came to a realization that it wasn't for you, and you said, hey, we're going to try, government federal contracting. And say it took you a year to get to that point of figuring out, it's good in summary now, right? It's good in summary. In hindsight, like, it took us a year to figure it out, I quit my job, it sounds great, but tell us a little bit, some of the ups and downs, the emotional high of saying, hey, I'm on my own, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know if we were really saying entrepreneur at that point back then. You know, I had my own business, and then also that also the other side of that emotion of, oh man, what am I doing? How am I going to figure this thing out? Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I had to let go was pride. And so when you're working a corporate America job, or you're working something where there's a lot of status around it, so what's your position, well, how much do you make, and there's all this, that's your worth, right? In the whole pecking order. And so you go from that to where you're self-employed, and everything that you have to kill everything that you bring to eat. And so there's a whole humility, because there a lot of times you're not killing anything. So you're not eating anything. And then you just feel like, so for one, you feel like you're on the fast track to going broke, and beyond broke. And then so that hits your pride. And then things like going to the grocery store, and you got food on the conveyor belt, and you're like, I hope the card goes through. And then now you're like, at first that's stressful, but then you're able to kind of laugh about it later, and joke with the clerk and everything else. And so because you're kind of chipping away at your pride, you're gaining humility. And I think that's one of the biggest things, because that prevents people are so caught up in social status and where they're at and how they look to the neighbors and everything else. And so you have to let that go. And then maybe you sell the car you have, because you need something more economical where you don't have a car payment. You just kind of reduce your lifestyle, because you really have to kind of gear up to bootstrap the whole process. And that starts forming your mindset. It starts putting you in a state, like Les Brown talks about, being hungry and staying hungry, puts you in that state of mind.
Hungry. Yeah.
Where you're feeling hungry. And then, and so, and then you start kind of living that. And that you need that almost transformation before you start forming the disciplines. Disciplines is the next thing after humility, I think.
Wow. So, a lot of people are going to hear this, right? And it's the top of 2022. So they're going to say, hey, I listened to the Success Journey show. Martin said to quit my job. I'm quitting my job tomorrow. I'm going to tell my boss, I don't care about the cell phone you give me. I fly on the jet to go here. I'm starting my own thing. However, what they're not going to do is hear about the part about being broke and all these different things. And they haven't prepared. They haven't prepared themselves financially. Talk about, I love that you said you and your wife did this together. So talk about the nest egg or the cushion that you guys created, or if you created one when you were going to venture into this realm.
Yeah, I'd say that the cushion was a negative 225,000 in debt. That was the nest egg we were kind of living, because we had to buy equipment, we had to buy all this types of marketing materials and everything else to get the business going. So we were deep, like right out of the gate, we were really deep in debt. We had just gotten married, so the in-laws gave us a gift, like $7,000, but I think it was more like charity. That was kind of like bad.
You need this.
Yeah, and it was so it was a real trying time financially, but we learned to manage our money by just not having much money. So that's a good attribute, because then sometimes people go from 0 to 100 financially, and they're not able to manage their money well, because they like you said, you guys are all about the journey. If you don't go through the journey in a comprehensive way, then you're not going to appreciate what you have at the end. It just may leave you.
I love that, Martin. And as you're saying it, I see a lot of things in my own life of going through that similar thing of, grocery budget is slim. You're not going out there getting ready to spend a whole bunch of money. You said you have four kids, and I don't know where up along the journey that you have the kids, but I can imagine they all eat very well. And grocery budgets can add up at times, you know, especially in the earlier years when you guys are still building. And it's just about building that discipline early and understanding what it looks like to gradually grow and build, and knowing what you actually kind of need to live off of versus what you want to live off of. That's amazing. Tell us a little bit. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. Just in terms of the discipline, it really is doing a lot of activity that you don't want to do, and until you learn to love to do it. So there was one Memorial Day weekend, and it was Monday, and my wife and I were up at like 2 to 3 in the morning working on a project. And I just remember that time where, you know, I'm just like, wow, if I had a job, you know, none of this, we wouldn't be going through this, toiling away and just kind of grinding like how we're grinding. And what's interesting is that it was around the time where a few months later we had bought our first commercial building in 2009. So so I remember kind of those times where we had the late nights, and it was just exhausting, but it was forming discipline. And then a few months later, we bought our first commercial building and moved our company into, and then the landlord called me and said, like, well, why would you want to move? It's, you know, such a good place that you're in right now. And I said, I am you now. Like I have my own building now. And, you know, just like you have this building. And I go, so we're at the same place right now. And I just kind of remember that, and it was kind of liberating. And then it just kind of started on the road from that point of kind of building some real estate assets.
Oh, love it.
Man, so, you know, along with the journey, we love real estate here on the show. We love entrepreneurs, but I've been doing real estate. Ricky, he don't think he's been doing real estate, but he's been he has bought houses, and now we're doing investment properties, an investment property. So a lot of people don't understand tying something like buying a commercial building to growing your company. Explain to them why the concept of buying a commercial building, and at the same time, how did it benefit your business to propel you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's the long game. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. You know, other than you're getting appreciation, depreciation, you're writing off interest, you know, and all those great things that come with real estate. It's really the annuity play, whereas you're buying property and the properties, you know, you want it to cash flow, and then eventually own it free and clear, and then maybe sell it with seller financing, or just sell it outright at a later point. So it's just a great annuity play. I don't know that there's many investments that are as good as real estate. However, what it does to your mind is what's the most powerful thing. So every time, you know, Ricky, you guys, Marley, you guys buy a property, your mindset is just kind of elevated at that point. And even subconsciously, you know, you're kind of building that empire in your head, and it goes a long way for future purchases. And so I think there's this real snowball effect with real estate, mentally as well as physically.
I love that you put that together, because, you know, Rick and I, we talk about this all the time, and how, you know, of course the tech industry is blowing up, so they're making a lot of millionaires. But, you know, real estate had made more millionaires than almost every industry, or if every industry that there is, because of what the different characteristics of what real estate does. You talk about note interest investing. How did that come to play with the note investing and real estate and everything else?
Yeah, so in 2013, we sold our company, our government contracting company, and we had a portfolio, or we still do, of real estate holdings that we self-managed. And so I was really looking for something new at that point. And at the local real estate club, I ran into a note investor. So what that is essentially, mortgage loans that are already pre-originated. They circulate in the secondary mortgage market. You can buy them in a performing state. You can buy them in a non-performing state where they're in default. Either way, you're just there's a lot of buying and selling of these mortgage assets in the secondary mortgage market. So I got exposure to that, and I really thought that, again, I kind of lost my way humility wise, because I kind of thought that I knew so much from real estate investing, so I could just jump into the mortgage loan side and just tear it up. But then I really got hammered initially when I put out, I put out about 240,000 to start. And I just learned everything that I didn't know. It just kind of a lot of trial by fire. But what I did find, though, with mortgage note investing is I can buy mortgages where the homeowner hasn't made a payment in 4 or 5 years. And I can, because I purchased these loans at a discount, I'm able to work with the homeowner in a compassionate way, help them get back on their feet with a loan modification, and help them keep in their home. And while creating a long-term stream of cash flow for myself and my company. And that's been my business model for the past 9 years. And it's allowed me to retire financially free, kind of what I started the podcast with. But the good, the social good in it is that we're not displacing families. We're doing everything possible to keep people in their homes. And so there's a real feel-good aspect to it.
So, man, I love this. So can you and I know you went into a little bit more intricate for myself, because this, now I'm understanding that I don't understand. I'm at the place where you were. I don't understand everything about real estate, because now I'm saying note investing. I've never even thought of that as idea in terms of owning people's notes. So you're saying there's somebody that has they're still living in the house, they haven't foreclosed yet, but they haven't paid on this note in 4 to 5 years. And then you come along and you acquire this note. How's it beneficial for you in terms of monetary wise?
Yeah. So if you take like $100,000 loan that was originated at Wells Fargo or some other lending institution, and the homeowner stops paying because, they got divorced or something happened health-wise, they lost their job. Over time, that lending institution is probably going to bundle that into a tranche and sell it into the secondary mortgage market to a hedge fund like ours. And so the hedge fund's gonna buy that $100,000 loan for, let's say, 30, 40,000. So they're going to buy it for that amount, but yet 100,000 still owed. And so then we're going to make contact with the homeowner and work out a loan modification, figure out what they can afford, work out a payment plan, help them get back on their feet. And then we've, in essence, created a long-term stream of cash flow for our company as a result of, helping the homeowner back on their feet.
Wow. So there's a $70,000 equity once you purchase that note, and you're hoping, or you're saying, I'm going to talk to this homeowner, put them on a payment plan. Now, because you bought it for 30,000, are you able to bring their mortgage down so they can afford it and pay overtime? Or how does the conversation happen between you and the homeowner?
Yeah, so we can make concessions for the homeowner. We have all the rights and responsibilities of the originating lender, so we can make adjustments. We'll extend out the terms. We can lower the interest rate. We can lower the principal balance. There's a number of things that we're able to do. Obviously, we have to do it so that it makes sense for us financially. Correct. We can't, we're in business, but we have to, the whole objective is to do it where it's a win-win. The homeowner gets a payment that they can afford, because if they can't afford the payment, they're going to stop paying again, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And so there's a great deal of due diligence that's involved. It's just like buying a rental property on the real estate side. You're figuring out what the tenant is paying, what the tenant should be paying.
Correct.
The quality of the tenant for the type of property, deferred maintenance, needed upfront maintenance. You're figuring all this out before you make the purchase, so you kind of know what you buy before you buy. We have the same due diligence criteria on the mortgage loan side, understanding what the collateral is, that's the property, and the homeowner and their ability to pay. And we make determinations before we purchase the mortgages.
Wow.
So one last question, Rick. Let me go. My mind is spinning.
No, yeah.
So so say you call Mr. Bob and you say, hey, Mr. Bob, hey, I just we own your mortgage now. We're trying to work on a plan with you that we'd love for you to stay into the house. And you're going through the whole thing. And Mr. Bob says, you know what, screw you. I don't want to ever pay. And so now you have to go through the actions of, just like you said, just like a renter, you're going to evict that person. Is that house yours because you purchased the note?
No, you own the lien against the property. If you want to exercise your right as a lien holder, you can foreclose on the property. You'd have to go through the foreclosure process to take possession of the property. But we've nailed down our system so well that we actually foreclose on less than 1% of our portfolio, which is unheard of in the industry. There's a lot of hedge funds that just will start foreclosure and take back the property because they want the property. It's a property grab. But we've made our model the opposite, where we want to keep them in their home because we want the cash flow stream. That's more significant. But, there's pros and cons. People that want the property, you're going to get more money up front. Cash flow stream, you got to wait for it, just like a buy and hold rental. But we're long-term players.
Hey, you're listening to the Success Journey Show. Just a reminder, follow us on our social media at The Success Journey Show on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Also, you can check us out on our website at thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Wow, I love.
That's another side of real estate I never thought of.
Oh man.
So it gets a little bit better too. So we have so that hedge fund that buys these non-performing mortgages is privately owned by my partner and myself. But we have a public company called Bequest Funds. It's an income fund. It pays out a 9% annual pref to our investors on a monthly basis. So this is a fund that only buys in performing seasoned mortgages from the secondary mortgage market. We buy them in at about a 11 to 13% yield, and we pay out the investors 9%. So that's kind of the way to, that's a way for us to be engaged with the investor community.
Oh, wow. So then you're allowing somebody to let their money perform for them without even have to take on the, quote unquote headache, even though you've worked out your system for that 1% foreclosure. You're allowing somebody to come in and say, okay, I can use my money to invest in these notes without having to do the work in the backdrop. Okay.
Yeah, and been like, I got about 800,000 of my own cash. My partner has, 500-600 of his own cash. So this was set up as a way to, it's an evergreen fund, so it doesn't expire. So you put in $1 million, you get 90,000 annually, paid monthly for the rest of your life. And so this is one of the vehicles that we use that brings cash flow into our existence monthly, and clearing all the expenses and leaving us in a positive state monthly.
Man, Martin, how in the world did you go from, hey, I'm going corporate and we're going to start our own government, federal contracting, to even be able to think on this level? Because this could be overwhelming for people, but I know that it didn't come something that came overnight for you. It was something that, came together as you showed us, going through the process, going through the different steps in your evolution. So tell us, it doesn't have to be exactly, but more so the process around growing to different, from level to level, as you're going on this journey, and how to see these opportunities and be creative or learn from others that are doing these things as you are growing along the way. Note, guys, before you answer that, note, he said, I'm only repeating this because he already said it. He said he has $800,000 of his own money in the investment
Evergreen
company, Evergreen. But remember, 20 minutes ago, he said he was 240 in the hole, right? Okay, yeah. I just want to keep note of that, right? Talk to us. Give us more details on just giving advice on the growth, right? And how to identify opportunities, how to take advantage of where you currently are, and how to continue and respect that process of learning so that you can be in these situations.
Yeah. I would first say that my story, doesn't have to be the pathway many take. If you're working a corporate job, you have a family, shouldn't up and leave a current situation. With that said, an individual, a parent, father, mother, they have an obligation to their family to learn this income game and to make a real run at it. And so if you're not making what you need to be making at your current job, you need a second job. You need to learn how to be a professional investor. But where you're taking on all these new initiatives and behaviors, you also need to be pruning the bushes, as Jim Rohn talks about. You need to be cutting out the things that are not bringing value in your life, cutting the people out that are not bringing value in your life. And it really starts there at that point. So I can't just tell you, start, triple your income and start putting it away in passive income vehicles like Bequest. And if you want to retire on, $180,000 annually, you need to put $2 million in Bequest, because that just means very little to a lot of people. Until you start just with where you're at, assessing where your current situation is, where you and your family are. What do you need to remove from your life? What do you need to add into your life? And just start being a student of income, top line, increasing your top line situation, maybe getting a sales job, learning how to be a salesperson, or, how can you bring additional money into your family situation, and then learn how to do that well as a starting point. And then as an investor, so like my wife and I, we started our journey in 2004. We didn't buy our first building till 2009. That's 5 years later. And then we had to dig ourselves out of a major hole just to get to that point. And we didn't really see financial freedom probably till 2015. So that's a 6-year point from there. And so these are large clips of, time. And so, but along the way, I was forming disciplines. I was always self-educating, going to conferences, going to seminars. And it really just takes a commitment to education, I would say.
For conferences and seminars, knowing that you named some of the big names of the Jim Rohn. I know you didn't go to Jim Rohn conference, but Tony Robbins, or even oh my goodness, I can't believe his name just slipped my mind. Les Brown. Yeah. Have you ever gone to any of those conferences?
I haven't seen Les. I haven't seen Les. I've seen Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, just a few few of the Sharks, Damon John, and Peter, I think.
Oh, Peter. Okay, Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter. I don't know his last name, but yeah, I've seen. But I'm not. But even like industry specific conferences. So there's a lot of investor conferences in various industries, and just kind of going around there and building a new inner circle, a new crop of people that you associate with. Everyone I associate with is positive, is focused on financial freedom, is always self-educating. They have funds themselves that they operate, so
Correct.
and so I just surround myself with these individuals as a way, just kind of build my world.
Yes. My grandmother always told me, birds of a feather flock together. My grandmother always said that to me. And when I was younger, I was like, oh, Ma, you're talking craziness. But as I was going through, I understood exactly what she meant when she said, birds of a feather flock together. Iron is sharp as iron. And you're very right. Rick and I went to a conference. We just came back yesterday. And just the rubbing your shoulders with the right people and talking to someone and somebody seeing your idea and then it sparks something. That's something great that you can't obtain anywhere if you just sit in your living room, right? And just watch TV and say, oh yeah, whatever. Now let's talk about when you come back from those conferences. Let's talk about that high, because Ricky and I are going through it right now. You come back from the conference and you're on a high, right? Yeah. And then you come back and then it kind of dips. And now you have to go into work mode to implement what you've learned or what ideas you've got there. How did you work through that portion of all those different conferences and when you got back and to go into work mode?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pre-conference work that can be done. So in other words, before you go to the conference, who are the speakers that are going to be speaking there? Who are some of the attendees, and going through LinkedIn, connecting with all of them, figuring out where you may have some synergies. And so that way you kind of go with a pre-plan, maybe invite some people to do coffee breaks. And so that way you're kind of going with a strategy in mind. And so that's going to make your experience more meaningful at the conferences. And then have a post-action plan so that you have some sustainability around, your investment to go to the conference. And maybe you have identified 5 people that you're like, hey, I really need to get close to these individuals. They're where I want to be in 5 years or 10 years, or they're just kind of the same mindset. I feel good when I'm around them, and just kind of start building the deeper rooted relationships with them, and see what other conferences they go to, and try to stay within that same circle of individuals.
Yes.
I'm writing these notes, Marlon.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
I know Ricky was, and he's gonna share them with me. I know he's gonna say, "Hey, we're not doing this. Martin said do this, Marlon."
Well, I would also say this too. Don't be shy about asking the conference promoter if you can speak on a panel.
Oh yeah.
And, you may feel like, hey, I don't have enough to say at this point, or I'm not where I want to be, or, a lot of people kind of have those fears and doubts, but you'd be surprised. A lot of people, I speak at conferences all the time. And because I've written 4 books, and
oh wow,
3 of which are on the notes industry, 1's on the government contracting industry. So I kind of get asked that way. But even me, like I'll go and I'll be like, wow, what an honor. I don't think I'm worthy to be there with these individuals, but you just never know where someone's at. And you never know what sometimes the conference promoters are looking for someone's story as they're coming up. And they're not looking for someone that says like, oh, I got $200 million assets under management. They're not, because you're too far removed from the audience. Maybe the audience just needs to hear about, hey, I picked up my 10th rental. I'm rolling. I'm doing one, doing 5 acquisitions a year. I work my job, and people sometimes need to hear that as an inspiration.
Yeah, love it.
Wow. I'm gonna. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit more now that COVID has happened and everyone they went into this mortuarium when it comes to the housing and everything else. How do you feel? I know you're in. I know you don't want to see anybody, go into that financial strain when it comes to their house. But do you foresee that there's going to be a lot more notes to be purchased now that we're coming out on the other side of that mortuary?
Yeah, I think there'll be an uptick. I don't know that it's not. I don't know that it's all fully attributed to the moratoriums and with evictions and forbearance and whatnot. That's part of it. I think inflation is really rearing its head, and I don't think that's going anyway. Interest rates hikes, right? Just this week, we're talking about major hikes that's going to affect all of us as real estate investors, but it's going to also affect the tenants, right? With rental increases. They've already been seeing that the past few years. So at some point, it's just, people are just going to get priced out of the rental market, of being able to make their mortgage payments. So there might be an increase in product as a result. But I don't see our business model of working with homeowners in a compassionate way changing in any way. I think, even more, we'll have to get even more compassionate as we work with individuals. But I think it'll be interesting when interest rate hikes, inflation, it's going to bust a lot of the mom and pop real estate investors out of the market. It's going to turn them off. Some that just bought this year may be upside down, by next year. And so there might be kind of a cleansing process over the next few years for the community. So you got to buy correctly, right? You got to.
Correct.
That's
correct.
The only way.
Yeah, it's hard to buy correctly when, the comps are being changed almost monthly. Some comps are being changed on the property, making it hard for you to even get in there because now the owner is saying, I'm not going to take less than X because 3 houses just down the block or a building across the way or a warehouse, whatever the situation is, just sold for X. So it's a very tricky time right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's more opportunity on the commercial side, whereas you might have some older individuals that are retiring and they may have a portfolio of property. And if you can catch it as a pocket listing before it gets on the CoStar or LoopNet or something like that, then you have more ability and to take down a portfolio of properties. And they may own them free and clear, so you may have seller financing option available to you. But when you're buying kind of one-offs through the MLS or just through the retail, through realtors, then it's a tough nut right now.
Yeah, it is. Oh man, you got me on the other.
You want to go to the notes that.
Yeah, the notes. I'm telling you, you just opened my mind to a whole different way of thinking when it comes to real estate. Because I never, 2008. It's a combination of what they were doing in terms of, but they're doing it in a bad way. You're doing it, like you said, in a compassionate way. Your objective is not to see somebody out of their domicile. It's actually to keep them there. So
but there's some note investors that buy notes on vacant properties. So you get a deed in lieu. You get a deed. Obviously, you got to do a title search. You have to understand all the liens on the property. But you get a deed in lieu. Borrower signs over the property in exchange for debt forgiveness, and now you have a property you just purchased on discount. So there's other ways to play it.
Yeah, and we got to talk off after this. After this is done, I gotta pick your brain. I don't know what your consultation price is or whatever the situation is, but I definitely got
it. I'll mail you a book if you send me an address. But there's some conferences. I'll let you know some conferences.
Yeah, please do.
Please do. Please do.
Read some books and attend conference. That's what I did out of the gate. I mean, that's how I really got set up, is doing both of those things.
Books and conferences. I love it. Man, Mara, you have filled us up with so much. Man, you added to the whole list of.
The list of to-dos.
Yeah, quite as kept. Ricky and I have set up our company to actually do government contracts. So we have our whole cage number. We have the whole Dun and Bradstreet, everything. We're on Sam's. So we're kind of, we're not right behind you, but we're on the same.
Have you applied for your 8A? Have you applied for your 8A?
So that's the next thing that we need to do. We're applying for the 8A. So
you have to have some sales on. Do you have some sales under your belt? Because the SBA is gonna really, hone on that.
Sales as in for government contracting sales.
Yeah, they want that before they approve your SBA. They want to know that you have past performance and the capabilities to successfully perform on a government contract before they go the extra mile to give you your 8A.
Yeah, and even if you're on as a sub, could that still fulfill that requirement?
Oh, you know what? That might. There's a guy out of Ohio, GSA Proposals. He's one of the more affordable guys that help get your GSA or get 8A. I got we got our own 8A ourselves. It took a year and it took like 4 miles. It was brutal. If I could do it over again, I would have paid someone.
Almost everyone that I've spoken to or seen testimonials of, they say that 8A process, when they try to do it themselves, because they're not clear on what you have to send in, and they had so many times they had to go back and forth.
Yeah,
that was funny. Yeah.
Oh, it's frustrating, and it's not like a back and forth like we're talking here. It's like you submit month 1, and then month 3 you get a denial for something that you may have already turned in already, but they just oversaw it or something. Yeah, and then that's another 2 months, and then so it's just like it's brutal that way.
Yeah. Rick, man, so I'm sorry. Hey, travelers, I'm very sorry for hogging the questioning and everything.
But this is great, man. This is what we're here for. I'm so glad
you just started
came on and just share this, because just hearing your journey from the beginning to where you are now, it's a true testament of the journey show
thank you.
Where we're going. And we really appreciate you sharing the story. But travelers, we really want you to just hone in on a lot of the key things that Martin said that really made him and his wife, his family, who they are today. And that one of those things were, taking those steps, organizing their lives along the way, not jumping from 0 to 100, but really growing and taking advantage of the growth. I mean, he came out the gate talking about the top motivational speakers in the world that he listens to, and really worked on his personal development. A lot of us are wanting to work on our financial wealth, but we're not willing to work on ourselves personally. And you cannot achieve the financial wealth that you want to receive unless your personal development is improving as well. So I encourage you through this year. I know it's something I'm doing for myself. I know there's different couple areas in my life where I feel as though that I didn't pay much attention to over the last few years. I really feel that I'm at a different point in life where I don't feel equipped, right? They say what got you here isn't the thing that's going to keep you here, right? You get to that point, and I was like, okay, now what do I need to do now to enhance myself for continual growth? and just be a committed learner and committed to just really reaching the potential that is there for your life. So, I really, really am grateful, and Marlon and I are grateful for you to coming on the show and just sharing your journey with us. It has been amazing, and we definitely will. Hopefully, Marlon for sure to connect with you offline, and I'm hoping to be right behind you in those discussions.
Great. Great. Yeah, I enjoyed my time. Thank you, guys.
Could you share with us ways that people can just get in contact with you if they're interested in more information about what you do, interested in being an investor in your program or your fund, I should say?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to bequfunds.com. That's bequfunds.com. Or you can email me at martin@bequfunds.com. And I'll be happy to, if you have any general questions, I'll answer a government contracting question. I may have to kind of dust off the knowledge on that, think about it for a little bit. But once you sell to the feds, I mean, that kind of sticks with you like a tattoo, and you don't lose that. You don't lose those memories. That's a whole other podcast. We used to work at the Pentagon, and that was our big contract. And so I was there. I would be there all night on projects because we would be working in the hallways, and you had to do the work when people weren't working. And
correct.
So proposals, projects by day, proposal writing by night. That's a whole other story.
Oh man, I love it, Martin. Well, travelers, we want to thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Success Journey Show. Hey, why don't you leave a review on any of the listening platforms that you enjoy listening to our show on, and also share it with a friend, a neighbor, whoever that may need this uplifting content, is listening to the stories of people that are just like them, win and succeed in life by really dedicating themselves and committing themselves to be their best selves. We want to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys again next week at the same time on the Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one. Bye.
One love.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.